Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Sheets, and I'm going to be doing a lineup construction video for today's tennis slate. And again, I don't anticipate too many people noticing it, seeing it, and being able to capitalize on this particular slate in time. But that's fine because these videos are really designed more to continue to teach you guys process and how to apply stuff to other slates as well. Um, So what we're going to be doing is a combination of things that we've done in the past. We're going to use our customized projections. We're also going to build a customized field. And again, that's tennis is probably the only sport that I would do that for. Maybe golf as well. We'll get to why in a minute. Um, and the other thing that we're going to use is we're going to use the Pater um, uh, dupe calculator. I guess that's the best way to describe it to try to filter out those lineups uh, that rate to be highly duped. One thing I've noticed about SaberSim is it doesn't really do the greatest job at filtering those out. So we're continuing to test to see if we can improve upon that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to upload our projections, and it is a 16 match slate. Actually, I lied. The first thing we're going to do is upload our entries file. So we'll upload our entries file from DraftKings, and they're really just dummy lineups right now. And the reason why we do that is so that the information on the contest fields are saved. Now, as it turns out, I'm probably going to use my own contest fields this time, but it does save all of these for you here. So let's upload our projections. And we'll build 5,000 lineups here. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this button that says automatically create custom fields from ownerships. And I am going to build one in tennis. And the reason why I could do it in tennis is quite honestly, I don't think that the SaberSim ownership projections are exactly the greatest. Now, it's not that they're that much worse than anything else. It's just that ownership projections um, in tennis, oops, even better. The build failed. It will be deleted. Even better than that. Let's just see if it saves somehow anyway. Field lineups. Yeah, it didn't even build one. So we're going to have to figure out why that is. But the thing about tennis, which I was going to describe, is that ownership projections are pretty weak across the industry, whether it be mine, SaberSim's, averaging the industries, mine plus I mean, whatever you do, it almost seems as though the ownership projections are almost a random number generator. Okay. Um, so it becomes a very difficult choice of what to do when it comes to running contest sims if you're not particularly confident in your ownership projections. But the good news is the way we do it for tennis, it really doesn't make too much of a difference. I'm going to show you why. So we're going to build our 5,000 lineups. And one thing that for some reason is true about tennis is that even though the ownership projections are very, very tough, difficult to predict, the actual point projections are extremely easy to create. Okay, it's probably the easiest sport to create your own projections. So if that's the case, the variance between what everybody's using as projections is going to be very, very small. So what I think I've determined in tennis is that the best field that could represent what people are going to do is just basically the fields created by using, your average projections. Okay. Um, and instead of backing into the fields with ownership projections, you could create the fields by starting with what should be decent point projections. So what I'm doing is I'm building 5,000 lineups here. And what we're going to presume is that field, or these 5,000 lineups, represent the field. Okay. Now it's a little bit awkward because the actual field is only going to be 1,600, but I like to build as many lineups as I can, so that I have a bunch to choose from. So what we're going to do is presume that whatever we get from these 5,000 lineups is going to represent what the field is going to do. And then what we're going to do is basically sim our lineups against themselves. And there are very few sports that I feel comfortable doing that with. But tennis to me is the perfect storm. It is, number one, the sport where projections are extremely solid and consistent, and also where the ownership projections are almost seem like wild random number generators. Now, what's interesting is you might think, you might ask, why, how could that be? Like, how could the point projections be so solid and so trivial, yet the ownership be so wild? And unfortunately, I just don't have the answer. I'm gonna ask in some of the more advanced Discord channels I'm part of. No one's really been able to come up with a good answer. I have, I'm gonna ask in the endgame uh, Discord today. I want to see if they have any information on this. But anyway, we're building the 5,000 lineups, and the process is going to be very similar, very simple. We're going to sim this against ourselves, and then the one thing we're going to do different is we are going to put this into the Pater portfolio manager, and I'll show you how to do that. But for now, let's just do this. We will run the contest sims. Oh, I already screwed up. So what I did was I didn't change the contest field. So right now it's just running against the stock SaberSim contest field. So we're not going to do that. What we want to do is run it against what's called build one, which is essentially my 5,000 lineups. So that's the way you sim it against yourself, by running against the build that you actually just made. So let's again rerun these sims. And now we have these lineups here now, but I'd be curious to know what the projected dupes are for these lineups. So, like, for example, if I wanted to, I could download these and have SaberSim predict them. And you would see sim dupes, like no dupes, right? And the reason why is it actually doesn't do this calculation when you put in your custom fields, or when you sim it against yourself. Or should it actually? If you're simming it against yourself, you should just one dupe. See, I don't quite get this, why that would be. Just for fun, let's test something. Let's keep these lines. So let's take like 100 of them, because I want to run these against the Pater portfolio manager. So these are the lineups that we're gonna run here. So let's put these out over here. Save these, and then save as, we'll call them proposed uniques. Spelling. But before I do that, let me run these again against actual the actual SaberSim fields and see if that makes a difference. I'm going to predict that column that indicates dupes is not so consistently, one dupe in each one. That just doesn't make any sense. I think that there's a glitch. Let's see. Let us see if that is the case. Let me open this up. These are all 0. The others were all 1. So they're actually projecting, this is actually interesting, that none of these lineups rate to be duped. What I do find cool is that the geo mean of these are very, very low. So maybe, just maybe, they're doing a very good job of this. But again, it's the same problem. The problem is, boy, is the ownership projection. See, this is what I keep running back to. I was going to use the portfolio manager, but if we're not confident in the ownership projections, then who cares? Yeah, so we're not even going to do that. We're just going to go back. Build one. Build one. Build one. Why is this one not? Oh, this has to. Oh, the qualifier. Yeah, it's not letting me put these in. Actually, it's only 10 people, right? So let's put this 10 people. First is actually 100, but let's make it 90. Make this 10. But it's still not letting me use this as a sim. User entries 1. There you go. So now it's enabled. So let's resend these. And we don't really care about the ownership component because we're not confident in the ownership projections. And now it's just a question whether we want to do direct fill or autofill. And even though we put 100, we know it's just going to fill it in the, top 53 anyway. So let's use autofill. It may as well. So let's put the one we care about the most is, I guess, the qualifier. Yeah, let's do it this way. So this way, it's going to put the best lineups in the qualifier first, then the breakpoint, then the line painter. And then we should be good to go. So again, tennis is funny. On the one hand, you have very, very solid point projections, yet the ownership projections are extremely awful. And so that's what I ended up doing. Okay, so hopefully this helps. Again, it's a very specific type of build and specific type of process that I use for tennis. And listen, sometimes I will go back to the old way, but this is what I like right now. And that's it. Good luck.